to the Empowered Money Girl, where we break down the barriers to financial confidence, celebrate women's wins, and reveal the secrets to living boldly and well. I'm your host, Josette Mandela. Today's guest, Irina Dymarsky, is a visionary executive tech leader and CIO renowned for simplifying operational complexity and driving innovation for aligning people, process, and technology for sustainable business impact. With nearly 2 decades of experience across pharmaceuticals, services, and technology, Irina has led transformative initiatives from launching AI-driven revenue streams to global consolidations, blending Six Sigma efficiency, PMP rigor, and a global outlook. If you want to learn how to lead through complexity and deliver lasting change, you'll love this episode.
Thank you for that introduction, Josette. I'm so happy to be here today.
So, Irina, could you take us back to the beginning? What was your path like that got you to where you are today?
Well, it certainly was not linear, but every step did teach me how to better align people, process, and technology. And I have always been drawn to complexity. The messier, the better. And I think that's the mindset that really carried me through to some really big name corporations to where I am today, at a great company named Avixa, which is a mission driven organization, and it speaks to both my head and my heart. I always like to stay busy. I like working across multiple projects. And another thread I want to pull through is working with different people and collaborating across different functions. I'll tie it into probably some other answers, other discussion points for today. But brainstorming, solving problems, building things together is a big passion of mine. And in every role, I look for people who I can be vulnerable with and those who are willing to roll up their sleeves and help. So I'll just say finding your people matters, both in life and in work.
Yeah, that's a really cool thread. Finding those people that really make it worthwhile to get out of bed in the morning and actually go to work. So, what was your defining moment, if you will, when you realized I'm ready to be at the next level and actually lead a team rather than just being an individual?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I don't know that there's one defining moment, and honestly, I'm going to say I don't think I ever felt ready, and I don't think anyone is truly ready. And leadership to me is about having a growth mindset. And as silly as it sounds, it might just be willing to go first. That's leadership, or just willing to raise your hand and speak up and say something different from where the consensus is. It might be just acknowledging that you made a mistake, but you're willing to learn from it and try it a different way. So I really found that the best leaders aren't always the smartest people in the room. And I say this, with all my love and respect for them. And they'll say it about themselves, but it's the ones who are able to find and empower those who are the experts around them. I'm sure there are some famous quotes that I can't think of right at the top of my head, but I think there's ones about, creating a board. Like if you are the CEO of yourself, I'm the CEO of Irina Incorporated or Irina Corporation. Who are my board members? So those should be people who are all smarter than me in something. And so you kind of bring them together. And the passion certainly helps too. I went to Drexel University. They have work a work to school program called a co-op program that counts as part of your education. And I remember being hired for my first co-op, which means I haven't had any work experience up until the point. I just had classroom. And I remember asking my then boss, why did you pick me over all the other students that you interviewed? And he said, you were so excited. You were more excited than anyone. You were more excited than me about this. I really had to see what you were so excited for. So certainly, the passion, the energy, it does open doors. So again, I'll say finding those people They will tell you when the moment is, even if you're not ready. It may not be a moment that you say you're ready. It's someone else pushing, kind of pushing you out of the nest or throwing you into the deep end of the pool because they see that you're ready before you see that you're ready yourself.
Yeah, that is such a great insight. And I agree. There's certainly been times in my career where that's how it felt. Like you say, that they were saying, yes, you're ready, go. Time to get out of the nest.
Yes.
So, how would you define financial independence, and when would you feel like you truly achieved it?
Mm. Yeah, I think truly inde- financial independence isn't a number for me, at least. It's not. It to me, it's a freedom of choice and protection from chaos. Let's call it that. So freedom of choice. So freedom to make the choice that you want, and knowing that that's not going to turn your world upside down. So for sure, in life, there are many problems that money can't solve. Um, but for all of those which can, having that financial security that stops that being financially secure is in that situation stopping you from where money stops from being the deciding factor in an emergency. So your car breaks down, you're able to go rent a car or go buy a new car, whatever that looks like, or get it fixed. You need to move due to a family situation or a new job, and you're not being held up by not able being unable financially to, let's say, relocate or sell a house or rent a new apartment in a new area. All of those type of decisions are what to me feels like financial independence and financial security. It's also being able to say no to some things that maybe don't align to your ethics or just don't feel like that's the right path for you, and you're not being forced to say yes just because of the money of so that sense of security, I think, is the power that to me translates to being financially independent.
Yeah, and that's just a great way of looking at it too, because it really financial independence really is not necessarily a number on a piece of paper. It's really what can I do with that number that I have in the bank? And is it really the doing the things that I need it to do to make my life better? So what kind of relationship would you say you have with money today? And was it always this way, or has it evolved over the years?
Well, for sure it has evolved. If you're younger, or if you're trying to make your own way in life, let's call it, you may be kind of living paycheck to paycheck, or you might be a student, so you're not making a lot of money. It's hard to think beyond. I have to pay maybe my rent, or I have to pay my car, or I have to buy food, etc. So for sure, that's very much focused, like, what is the priority? What do I do with money? And so I had kind of a moment in time where it was like, what's the best, most logical, most rational thing to do? What's the adult thing to do with this money? Obviously, as you gain more financial breathing room, you start to, I at least started to value experiences over those material things. So I do now that like at preparing for this conversation, for sure, I was like, what is my relationship with money? And so I value the I'll say the little extras that money can now buy. For example, like extra legroom on a long flight, if you can afford it, it just feels better. You're more rested when you arrive at your destination. And so if you're able to kind of splurge for that, you do it. You do for the benefit of the rest of your vacation or the rest of your work, if you're traveling for work. Um, I went back in my memory, and I took my kids to Disney World. And so we got some kind of VIP passes to meet some characters, to, like, have lunch with a princess. Whatever those little experiences are, you remember the magic in your, the sparkle in your children's eye. You're creating these, like, memories and joy. You get a fast pass at an amusement park to try to squeeze them as many roller coaster rides as you can in a day. Like those moments start to matter more than, oh yeah, we can buy another, another couch or another chair or another computer or something. Those start to be valuable, I think, to me as I get a little bit older, more so than buying the next X thing with money.
I love that. That's it's amazing to when you're able to, like you say, when you're able to do that, when you look at the bank and balance and you're like, oh, cool. So yeah, I could buy a brand new car, but is that going to give me the experience? Or is that trip to some exotic locale really the thing to do? Or maybe ecotourism at Costa Rica, for example. I mean, I like that where you're looking at what is this going to do for either my well-being or in general the experiences. I like that. So do you actively invest today or
I do. So, well, I do and I don't. So there's a two part answer to this question. So you gave a really, really fantastic introduction about my technology experience. And I talked about creating your people and creating your kind of board of directors and finding those experts who will surround you and uplift you. So when it comes to investing, there's a little bit of that same thread that carries forward. So unless you are in love with investing and you're a financial expert, you feel really passionate about it, I don't think that investing generally is like a do it yourself kind of a situation. There's certainly, if you are able to set aside some money that I'll say you can afford to lose without drastically impacting your well-being or your family, then certainly it's fun to have a playground. So my husband actually is more of this playground type of person. So we take X number of dollars that we agree to that would not impact, again, being able to pay the mortgage or not being able to continue to live or survive or send our kids to their activities. And he has a playground where he invests himself. Otherwise, for the majority, like our IRA, our retirement funds, the kind of the bigger bulk of our money, that's where we trust the experts because I'm an expert in IT. You're an expert in financials. I'm going to trust you more. That's what you're doing day to day. And there's a story, kind of like a fable, joke, whatever, that I saw on the internet. It was really, really impactful in how I think about when experts request a certain amount of money for their services. So the story was about a guy who was trying to do some renovations on his house. He brings a contractor in, he invites a contractor out and says, what would it cost to, I don't know, build a deck? Let's call it this. I want to have a deck. And so the contractor says, I'm going to charge $10,000. The guy says, oh my gosh, that's so much money. No, I don't want to do that. Can you do it for less? And the contractor said, well, for $5,000, I will if you help me, I will teach you how to do the project. Do you want to do that? And the guy's like, oh yeah, this is much better. For $5,000, that sounds reasonable. What are we going to do? So the contractor goes, okay, well, you need a truck to pick up all of the material. Do you have a truck? And the guy goes, no, I don't have a truck. And he goes, okay, well, you can rent my truck. Let's add another $500. Do you have a saw? Do you know how to use a saw? Do you know how to operate machinery? And he's like, no. And he goes, okay, I'll rent you all of my equipment for, let's add another $1,000. So you can see where he's going. Then he goes, okay, we're going to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to go to Home Depot to pick up the equipment. And then we're going to have to work all day. And he goes, well, no, that Saturday is my day off. Okay, let's do it on Friday. No, I can't. I work on Friday. Okay, well, you can start to see how all of these additional things factor in when an expert quotes you for their service. You're not just paying for like the thing, the deck. Again, like, oh, $10,000. That sounds like a lot of money for a deck. You're not paying for a deck. It's not a cup that you buy and you just start to integrate it into your life. You're paying for the experience, for the insight, for understanding on when there is an issue, how to solve that issue. Like if there's an emergency, maybe the contractor is insured, right? If somebody gets hurt, right? Whether you just build a deck and somebody falls off the deck, like it's all those things. So I just thought it was a really nice story. I hope I did a justice retelling it, but I feel like the main point is there, the lesson is there. And I take that same approach with investing. So if you're into it, if you kind of want to try, create a playground, use some small amount of money that you're not really worried about because you're trying to test yourself. Obviously, you could increase if you get to be better and better at it. But otherwise, for me personally, I rather trust the experts with it. That's not my area of expertise.
And that is definitely really good advice, because that's kind of how I suggest that people start, is that if you want to try it, go for it. But let's put some guardrails around that. Let's keep it, like you say, to a small amount, to money that if you completely mess up and you lose everything, that, like you say, you're still going to have food on the table. You're still going to have a house to live in, that sort of thing. So it is definitely not something you want to do on your own just because you
Yeah,
saw something on TV that looked great.
yeah, correct, correct.
So in this theme of building financial independence, what advice would you have for other women out there, especially if they've been relying on maybe a partner or their job for their stability?
Yeah, for sure. So carrying over from the previous conversation, definitely start small. I will also say start now. So start small with whatever you have. Just that I saw on your website and in your previous conversations, $20. You have $20, great. Invest $20 because the power of compounding over many, many years is truly, truly amazing. I mean, you really could just be investing $20 and then you're up to thousands and you're up to maybe double digit thousands if you really started early. I also think that there's a lot of information out there, and certainly if women are employed by a bigger company, sometimes the employer offers like 401k plan or other financial education programs. If you have a good relationship with your HR person, typically they would know some ways to get started, or they can certainly tell you about all of the opportunities you have to participate in the plans that maybe you are not participating in within your company. If you do not have that at your disposal, if you're an entrepreneur or maybe you're not working right now, I think a lot of community programs exist. I'm a big fan of all of what my local library does. I love taking the kids there to both take books, but also they had a magician there 2 weeks ago. They had an art activity just yesterday. So there's a lot of that happening in, I think, every community. So if you seek it out, I'm sure you could find some financial education. Obviously, online resources are great. I would caution a little bit, like you said earlier, just because you saw something in one webinar or on one website, I'm not sure that's always the thing to do for you. So what I will buffer, and again, I think I'll just be repeating it every question you ask, but ask for help and seek out mentors or role models who you see them and maybe you think that you either speak out financially or they seem like they're financially independent or you just kind of admire them. And there's two words that I've been carrying with me, I'll say specifically for this past year. I kind of like rediscovered these two words and I've been using them in every advice anyone's asked me for: network and manifest. So network is finding those people and finding those around you who are able to help you along the way. But if you keep quiet, then all the people around you will never know how they can help you. So manifesting what the end result is a word that has really, really struck me. And it was me describing to someone Well, I just tell them what I want and then they help me and they say, "Oh, so you manifest the success for yourself." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I manifest success for myself." So now I want everyone else to manifest success for themselves. So don't be afraid to say, "Can you show me how you did it? What books have you read or where did you learn how to do this?" I remember being fairly young in my 20s, maybe it was my first or second job. And you kind of found that person. I don't think it's the right first conversation, but if you've been working with this person for a couple months, maybe even a year, you feel comfortable with them. I remember sitting down with a woman in our finance department and I said, "Hey, I'm not sure if you would be able to share, but how do you invest your money?" And she said, "Oh, I use a kind of Merrill Lynch because all my money is in Bank of America and Merrill Lynch is kind of part of that. Or I use whatever the advisory services are as part of our 401k plan." And so I was like, "Okay, that's interesting." And I kind of went around and then I asked my boss, "Hey, would you be able to tell me a little bit about how you invest your money or how do you think about money?" And so he had a different answer. He said, "I more use like a person that I know, and he's a financial advisor for me and my family." I just, it doesn't mean that you have to do exactly that same thing that the person is telling you, but gather all of these options and then try to see which one resonates the most. So again, network is find your people, ask them your questions. That's you manifesting that success for yourself, and yeah, and just build up your skills and build up your knowledge.
Yeah, and that's so true, is that, like you say, if when you're networking, you also need to be thinking about what is the outcome that I want. And because I've always believed, and it's certainly been true in my life, is that whenever I had a need for teachers, they would suddenly appear. It really is manifesting, and you're like, how did that happen? Where did they come from? But you put it out there, and I believe the universe is a friendly place, and that you shouldn't be afraid of asking questions. That's how we all learn. And
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll be surprised by what people are interested in, who they know in their network. I mean, it's remarkable. You never know until you ask.
mhm. So I'm pretty sure that I already know the answer, but do you believe that women should always have money of their own?
Absolutely. Yes. I think they that they absolutely should. And I will just kind of caveat it. It's not a secret money stash, that you keep away from everyone. So I really want to make sure that we're not propagating like secrecy or mistrust. It's really about agency, and having money means that you can make those critical decisions when need be. And so, life will throw you curveballs no matter whether you expect them or not. And so, um, it doesn't mean that you can't do your family planning together. So if you're in a relationship, if you're married, you could have a joint account. You could also have separate accounts. You can do financial planning across all of the accounts, all of the available money, so you take it into consideration. You don't just say, "This is my money." You don't get to say anything. So the way that my husband and I do it, we take all the money as a pool of resources and we kind of allocate and we say, what do we want to invest? What do we want to pay down our mortgage? Do we want to go on vacation? How much should we keep in the different accounts? How much should we put in the IRA for retirement? How much are we keeping in 401k plans, right? So your money doesn't have to live in one place. In fact, I think a very famous saying is, don't keep all your eggs in one basket, right? So you don't want all of your money in just one source. And having your own money, as you called it, is just having another account, possibly in another bank or possibly kind of invested in a different way that you can access no matter what happens. I don't even want to start talking about or thinking about all the possible ways that the world can turn upside down on you. But absolutely, I think it's I mean, you asked about women, men too. I think every human being, if they can, is about their agency and kind of having some financial independence to have this is kind of my safety nest. and this is money that I have some control over. And again, it could be part of a larger plan, but you have more control over that one versus now extra signatures, extra steps to access the money, right? Or kind of how fluid it is, or how accessible it is. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I love when you brought up, and I didn't mean to imply that this was going to be a secret account. I absolutely agree that if you're in a committed relationship, you all need to be talking to each other.
Yes, yes. Oh, and I know that's a big. I specifically said it kind of, as a joke, because I know how very much you are passionate about transparency and speaking openly about financials. So I actually did kind of prepare, and I was like, yep, not a secret, right? Just again, anything that you separate out or have different, it doesn't mean that it's not part of the same plan. You're just talking about and planning about it for in a different way.
So you're in a pretty high level position. So how do you manage your identity with your work versus your personal power outside of your job?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in a title does not a person make, or don't judge a person by the title that they have. And so, to me, it's just having hobbies and passions. And again, I'm going to keep going back to network and people and those who support you outside of work. You're not always going to have that title. I think you mentioned in some of your writing, uh, people get let go. There could be new leadership, realignment, reduction in force. The company didn't make their revenue. And it's not that you're not a great worker. It's not that you were not successful in what you did. There's 100 reasons of why you could lose your job at any given point in time. So I really encourage everyone to not attach their worth or their self to a title or to a job, unless it is you yourself and it's your business, right? So I think there is a difference here. If you are an entrepreneur and you are your own brand, then I think that that's a different answer. I think the way that you asked your questions, or the way that I understood your question, was, okay, someone bestowed this title upon me, but they can take it away at any day, at any moment. And so I like to stay grounded in who people are, what they do outside of work, what drives them kind of individually. And the titles do come and go. And most importantly, you mentioned many times, like, you'll be surprised. These things will come. And for me, it's who stays and supports you when you no longer have that title or you no longer work for that company. So I've been both surprised and disappointed, right, in people who reaches out after you leave. Forget you lost your job. What if you just left of your own accord, right? You got a great opportunity. Who are the people who are going to be excited that you went and on to better and greater things? Who are going to stay as part of your community, who are going to support you, who are going to um, be your sounding board, continue to uplift you and say, good for you, what are you learning, versus people who just write you off for, okay, you work together and you had those experiences, but I'm not interested in you as a person. So I think both of those happen. It's not things that you want to think about all the time, but I think that is the reality. And so to me, your identity and your personal power comes from those who stay with you, and not a title and not a company. So as much as we like to say, I do this at work and I feel proud of what I do, that's amazing. But also, what else are you proud of besides that? If that disappeared tomorrow, there has to be something else to your ethics, your values, your family, some of those things.
Yeah, I love that. And the idea of looking back, and regardless of why you left a company, who stays with you after you're gone. And yeah, I know there's certainly been times when I've been scratching my head going, wait a minute, they're staying in touch, but they're not, and going, what happened?
Happens, right? Yeah. Yeah, people will both surprise you in a good way, and they will surprise you in a not so good way. You just keep going forward. You just keep moving forward.
Yep. So what's next for you?
I I do enjoy these kind of conversations. I think there's a little bit of purpose-driven work and mentorship involved in even having a conversation like this. So I'm excited to keep learning and finding new ways to align technology and to kind of give back. Like I mentioned, I've had an incredible mentors and champions all throughout my career, and hopefully I can just be that person to others. We'll go back to the concept of complexity, so kind of demystifying complexity or perhaps solving it with technology. All of those are passions of mine: speaking, building better systems, mentoring. The more I can do and give back, I guess I'm not done building yet. I'll just keep building along and learning new things.
That's great. It sounds lovely to keep building. So if there was one message that you could give to women listening today about owning their own independence, what would it be?
I guess it's owning your worth. We talked a lot about what makes you the person, what gives you your power, what gives you your worth. How do you remain independent? Owning your worth financially, personally, professionally. To wrap up, I guess all of our conversation, you don't need permission to be a leader. You don't need to wait for someone to tell you that you're a leader or to bestow a title on you. You don't need to be perfect. You just start and go along with it. You just need to begin. So you start where you are, wherever you are on the spectrum. You start there. You own what you want, and you never give up your independence. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You can own your power, starting with where you are.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and a huge thank you to Irina Dymarsky for sharing her wisdom and energy with us. Now, if you found value in this conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the Empowered Money Girl with your friends. The more we spread these stories, the more women we can empower to live boldly, both financially and in every part of life. Until next time, keep thriving. And remember, your journey to empowerment starts with you.